We've got a massive heat wave that's building across the country this week. Humidity is going to be on the increase too as southerly flow develops. These temperatures are only going to get hotter. Overnight lows are going to be really impressive. Some of you may only be dropping into the mid-70s at night. And we're also watching the tropics for the potential for some development over the next several days. Hope you're doing well today, guys. Happy Father's Day to you out there. We do have some rain in the forecast now. I do want to start with this map because quite a bit of rain expected here across the northern plains, also in parts of the Great Lakes. And then here across Texas into the Gulf Coast, we're going to get that southerly flow, rain chances going up. But it's starting to get dry here into the mid-Atlantic and some of these areas and also into parts of the southeast. There will be hit or miss storms over the next couple of days, but it doesn't look like a widespread rain event for everyone. So some drought conditions starting to develop in some areas, and some of you may be hoping for some rain. We will see some rain today across, again, the plains, and the problem will be some severe weather possible too as our system moves through this region and our front drops to the south. Enough wind shear that now we are seeing an enhanced area, at least a 2% chance of some tornadoes here from parts of the UP of Michigan back into Wisconsin, even parts of southern Minnesota and parts of Iowa. As we head into the afternoon and evening hours, some hail possible in these areas too. And that severe threat also pushes all the way down into parts of Texas too. So it's not just going to be here. We could see some storms fire up here and also as far west as potentially parts of Wyoming heading into the afternoon and into the evening hours. Tomorrow, this would be Monday, some of these areas seeing another threat of severe storms pretty much in the same areas. Now we're pushing a little further north into parts of Minnesota tomorrow. That would be Monday. A few tornadoes can't be ruled out in these areas either. Let's time some of this out, at least some of the storm growth as we head into the afternoon. We'll see those start to flare up, especially here into parts of Wisconsin. Then they really get going here into the afternoon in southern Minnesota, northern parts of Iowa. These here into parts of Wisconsin and Illinois could get a little strong too, so we'll have to keep an eye on these. But again, the strongest threat will be back in here. These will, again, have the potential for a few tornadoes. It doesn't look like a widespread tornado outbreak, but definitely there's enough wind shear that we could see a few spin-ups in some of the stronger storms. As we move into the overnight hours, those slip back off a little bit. Now we're into Monday afternoon, though. More storms now, lifting a little further to the north as we start to see our ridge of high pressure build across the east. And look at that southerly flow developing here, bringing in moisture off the Gulf. Heavy rain starting to develop along the Gulf Coast in response to that. Headed to the east. Again, few showers possible, pop-up storms here into the Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia. Some of these areas really could use some rain right now. You may see some, you may not. They're going to be hit or miss. The best chance for rain still back up in here around the Great Lakes. Moisture flooding in. You can see it. I'm going to put this into motion pretty quick so you can just see how everything is flowing here off the Atlantic like this and then up and around, right? So we're starting to develop a ridge of high pressure across the east, and that's going to set us up for some warm weather. Take a look at this. This is our upper level heights. This is really a measure of how thick the atmosphere is. As you heat the atmosphere up, it expands. It basically literally gets taller and taller, and that's what's expected here, and that's what the upper level charts are showing. In fact, this looks like it's going to build further to the west as we move into Tuesday and Wednesday. So now it's just continuing to expand in this direction. That's going to do two things. Number one, it's going to get us hot, but it's also going to start to reduce the potential for thunderstorms and showers into the afternoon and evening hours, because if you heat the upper levels, which is what's going to happen, you don't get as much instability. So showers and storms may become more limited in these areas and just really making it feel even more oppressive. However, where they do form, there's going to be enough moisture, and you may end up with those really tall, skinny thunderstorms, the types that develop big downpours. So a very summer-like pattern setting up. I showed you there on the future radar there on the NAM. Take a look at this moisture. This is our 850 millibar wind flow coming in off of the Atlantic, really anywhere here across the East Coast. Look at these winds just pulling in lots of moisture. So not only is it going to get hot, it's going to feel oppressive out there with dew points in the 70s in some places. These are your high temperatures on Sunday. We're going to move forward pretty quickly because I do want to show you the rest of the week too. This is Monday. Now we're pushing into the mid-90s. Maybe some upper 90s into parts of the Ohio Valley, up around the Great Lakes. Typically hot across the south, but look, we're getting close to 90 now into New York City, even places like Buffalo over to Watertown, maybe not quite as hot, but the heat will continue to build. So now we're into Tuesday. Some of the models trying to print out triple-digit heat for some of the lower elevations here into New Hampshire. This may be impacted by some of the downsloping flow here, but do we make it into the upper 90s in these areas? Possibly, and then we've still got some 90s just continuing for the next several days. I expect that the Weather Service will be putting out more heat statements as far as the warnings go. We've got excessive heat watches up now. This will likely expand. I mean, I don't know that it gets to 104 here, but it just gives you an idea that the strength of this ridge is really there. We've got mid and upper 90s here across a large area from the Mississippi River all the way north up the Ohio River. And that lasts, look at this, all the way into Saturday, potentially into Sunday. Now we may be seeing triple-digit heat for parts of southeast PA, New Jersey, the nation's capital, I think even down to the coastal plain of the Carolinas, and maybe even back in here into parts of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, back to Missouri. Yeah, we could be pushing triple-digit heat by next weekend. Lows at night. Look at these temperatures. These are lows sometime, Wednesday morning? We're talking about, we may get, like 77, 75, 76 as far north as Wisconsin, Milwaukee. So some very warm overnight temperatures prime us for the days ahead. We start off warm. We're going to easily just warm up quicker. Across the plains, we're not going to escape the heat here. Today, as we head into Monday too, typically hot here across West Texas, triple digits. We're into the 110s, into the teens, into some of the desert areas, but still 90s building north here across the plains. Back into Texas, still hot. Here comes that heat though. Moving as far north, I think, is about maybe Milwaukee, definitely into Chicago. We're talking about mid 90s here over toward Des Moines, and maybe even 90 into parts of South Dakota. So Pierre may even make it into the low 90s by the time we get into Friday, and maybe even Saturday, some relief. But look at this. Now we're looking at Oklahoma. Triple-digit heat for Tulsa, Oklahoma City. I think it's possible. Something to watch. The tropics are another thing to watch, too. Two areas of concern. Here, we're watching the disturbance that's here right now moving into the Gulf. That would happen sometime over the next couple of days. And then this area here off of the East Coast, here into the Bahamas. That's an area that is of concern right now. The National Hurricane Center saying 30% chance of some formation here in this area. An area of low pressure forecast to form sometime around midweek. Let's take a quick look at that. So here's the European by Wednesday, showing this broad low pressure area here that potentially could develop into something. It looks like it's going to move into Mexico at this point, but I think it's also going to bring in quite a bit of moisture and some big rains for central and south Texas. And then here's our disturbance across the Bahamas. This could potentially impact the southeast coast sometime by the end of the week. If it doesn't form a tropical system, you've got high pressure up here, your Bermuda high, just driving whatever forms, whether it's just a cluster of showers and storms or maybe some tropical development, driving that into the southeast coast. So it looks wet, and this actually may bring some relief to the heat and maybe some much needed rain here into parts of the mid-Atlantic into the Carolinas. At this point, still too far to determine whether it's going to develop into a storm or not. Something that will be worth watching. And then once we move beyond that, we've got a system that looks like it's going to move through southeast Canada. That may drag a cold front and bring some relief to this hot weather sometime around the beginning of the following week. So now we're talking about the 25th, 26th, somewhere in that time frame. All right. Again, happy Father's Day, guys. If you've not subscribed, I hope you will. If you want to help the channel, that absolutely helps, and I totally appreciate all of you guys who've done so. I'll catch you next time.